Dana?
I'm Dana Brown. I'm the administrator of the Howard County Office on Aging.
Mary McGraw, Elizabeth Community Care Network.
Ted Jensen, Maryland North.
Bruce Kirk, Charles County Area Council on Aging and individual member.
Mark Aviola, Annapolis, USM Education Foundation.
Going Victor Baker, speaker, and then have president election. Putting that off to the last, so I don't have to sit down. Because once I'm not president, I can sit down. Treasurer's report, you want to let people know where we stand?
We have a little bit over $2,000 in the bank. It's gone down a bit since the last meeting. We're doing our best to try to get renewal dues to be paid. And we're taking some steps to cut our costs. For example, our website hosting will come down from $600 to $61. That's some progress.
Dave, you want to say anything about the form?
Just a reminder, it's scheduled for January 29th. I will be contacting people who have already volunteered to work on it, but I can use more people, so if you're interested, please see me before the end of the meeting. If you're interested in working on it or supporting it in any way, please see me before you leave today.
Okay. Legislatively, Don Sillers is in Canada. I think she's home up there. It's cold here. Interestingly enough, I've been talking to him several times, and he says the drought has been so severe up there, he can hardly get his kayak back up on the dock. The only thing I can report to you legislatively is that we met with the budget analysts last week. Elizabeth Wayline and I met and made a presentation concerning the necessity to support senior programs, saying as always that seniors who can are willing to pay their fair share. But there are people who do need help, and those people can't be ignored or pushed aside. That you might delay a new golf course, but you can't delay those on wheels. HCQ needs support, and CC of that letter that we left went out last night. You don't have to send it out. So Nancy has a copy of that as of now. Some departments of DHR, some sections of DHR, not Department of Service, support seniors. Need our support. Last year, there was a bill, House Bill 1090, which was going to mandate palliative care in hospitals with 50 beds or more. And that got sidetracked at the last minute because hospice was included. As soon as you include hospice, it raises flags to the whole series of groups. There was a summer study or an attempt to try to put something together for a new bill coming up. And the second or third meeting of that group will be tomorrow. There had been an interim meeting with a subgroup trying to create a definition of palliative care, which sounds easy. But I think, so we had a big discussion and then emails flying back and forth. We've come to an agreement about what palliative care is. I would paraphrase it. It's a spectrum of care given to somebody diagnosed with a serious illness to offer them total mental and spiritual comfort and their family. Notice hospice was not mentioned. We are recommending that hospice be left out of this bill totally. This bill goes forward, it will be a bill palliative care only, full reference to not being able to get treatment because of hospice, put hospice down for now. Hospice is represented as an issue to be on a different time, on a different policy. That's the only thing I can tell you about legislation. IT, Bruce is back on the camera. I will really say that member clicks does not work very well for multiple reasons. And Bruce with Paul are working diligently trying to find some better ways to communicate with a lot of people. Of course, we email out to almost 1,000 people at various times. Small groups to the board of 20 people to the full list, which includes a lot of media, most of whom never answer, but still be out there, citing under the question is how do you send emails without people? Number one. Number two, how do you keep track of who's paid, who hasn't paid? As of last night, I ran the report on a member case, which I don't totally trust. There might be some people not on that list. We came up with 94 organizations. That's not a bad number. I thought we reached 100. Matter of fact, I thought we got to 101. But 94 ain't bad. We started with 31 4 years ago. And the most recent addition just turned up. As a matter of fact, they turned up before the check turned up. So I hope it's for real. With the Columbia Association. So we now starting to get people just joining the organization. You don't have to go and proselytize. They just show up, which is pretty wonderful. I missed anything? The USM Foundation, Wendy has something to say about that.
The USM Foundation, for those of you who aren't aware of it, and I know that we talked about it before, is a nonprofit entity that really Ted has spearheaded and created a board of directors for. And that's an organization that, unlike this organization, which does lobbying activities, can accept contributions. So last week we had the organization's been really trying to establish itself and its purpose and have potentially staff on board. And we realized recently that it would be good to take a step back and not, and be more familiar with the resources that we have in this room and affiliate more closely with this group. And so be supportive of this group's efforts. For example, if you had a speaker, if you had expenses, if you had an issue where you needed publications, just to be able to be more closely aligned with this organization and all the constituent members of this organization. So we this morning solicited people at the director level to be part of a joint committee to help guide the foundation with people in the foundation. And so many of the foundation directors are in this room or familiar with the conversation. We want to have routine, establish a relationship. So again, if a project comes up, we don't have to go around thinking about projects that come up. This group, United Seniors, will have needs, and the foundation is one way to help meet those needs financially. So if you have an interest, I know there's a sign-up sheet for committees that Muriel has. If you have an interest, that's been added on to the sign-up sheet. So please, what you're volunteering for, if you sign up for that group, is an occasional phone meeting to just give some input as to where best, for want of a better way to put it, where best to spend the money and how best to accumulate the money to spend. So I want to thank Ted because he's been sort of the spearheading influence behind this very important part of any educational effort, and that is funding. Does that sum it up for you?
Yeah, thank you very much for that comment. It's been a lot of fun.
As Wendy mentioned, we are trying to reinvigorate the committees for United Seniors, along with our transition leadership to broaden the involvement of people. And the May meeting, we passed around this sign-up sheet for people interested in and participating more. And this is not a big commitment, it's a small commitment. We've added the Education Foundation as a committee on this, and I'd just like to pass it around, and if you could put your name and email on this list if you'd like to join a committee. And again, not a major time commitment, but I know some people are here for the first time, and we'd love to have you get more active.
Who here represents an organization? Okay. Now, United Seniors of Maryland, United Seniors Education Foundation has in fact teamed up and helped Verizon put on some outreach programs. Now, found out this morning that the AARP is taking an adverse position to something that Verizon is doing, which is trying to do away with landlines. It's not a different issue, but it doesn't relate to what we're doing with Verizon. I think there have been 4 outreaches now. We were going to do one a month, which turned out to be 4 in the last 12 months. The next one's going to be in Emmitsburg. Now, I sent an email out to those people representing organizations that we know are the representative of the organization, saying that if you want to have a table exhibit, it's free. It doesn't cost us. And it's a wonderful way for your organization to outreach. The predominant kinds of things are healthcare related. Verizon supplies lunch, finds a couple of speakers. If you have something you want to say, you can even have a presentation during that period of time. It usually runs like 12 to 1. The senior center. The next one is in Emmitsburg. If you're interested in having a table there, let me know. I can work this out. November 8th. November 8th in Emmitsburg. Anybody think you might be interested? Wow. Okay. There's an election. Yeah.
With regard to the Emmitsburg Verizon thing, where can we find more information on it?
I have 2 PDF files. One is a save the date for the event November 8th. And the other was the last flyer they put out for Walmart. And I guess I can send that to the whole mailing list. Using the save the date for the specific where and when. And using the one from Waldorf to give you an idea of who was involved and what they did. Okay? So when I get home today, before the night's over, I will email those 2 PDF files to the whole mail.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? Okay. I think, I'm sorry.
What's the nature, I mean, Tom and I both testified on the Public Service Commission against that bill of Verizon. What they wanted to lose the financial oversight and ultimately spin off their landline services upon which about 35% of seniors rely for all or most of their loans. So that was the issue for us. But what's the nature of Verizon's pitch?
The nature of Verizon.
I mean, they push in cell phones. That's what.
They have exhibitor table. They arm posts, so they do well introduce a speaker. They then say we do have programs for seniors with a very, very low cost. If you want to know more about it, visit the table. And that's about the extent of it. Because very early on, I I told Tad Bishop, who's the Verizon guy I'm working with, that if they were going to use us as a sales tool, we weren't. And they have been, I don't, where's Jack? I'm sorry, so you was in, when we were down in Eastern Shore, they weren't,
They weren't selling anything and they weren't advocating it.
and in Waldorf, who else was it? Was anybody in Waldorf?
So it's soft PR for
Oh,
seniors.
it's really soft. I just, frankly, you know, this guy Tad Bishop has come to rely upon, I'll say, our help. And I have been fierce in saying that we will not be, tools. Okay? So getting back to what I was saying, there is an election coming up in a month or so, isn't it? 44 days? Wow. I didn't have nurses.
It's all about gambling, that's the election.
The gamblers, but we're going to get a lot of that explained to us in terms of what the gambles are. Susan Cochran is a former biology teacher and is a retired member of the Virginia Bar. Native of Vermont, and now lives in Edgewater with her husband Carter. She has 2 children, 5 grandchildren in the area. Susan is in her 2nd term as president of the League of Women Voters in Annapolis County. Has served on the state meeting board and environmental lobbyist for the state league. Nancy Chambers is an expert in the computer line. So Susan, why don't you tell us what to expect statewide on ballot for the election?
Well, I'll do my best, and I hope that without a microphone you can still hear me. So I'll try to do better than usual in projecting. I'm with the League of Women Voters, and I am so pleased to learn more about this organization, United Seniors of Maryland, because I was not familiar with it before, but I definitely am a senior. And I think it's very admirable that you have this organization. Obviously has a great deal of interest with so many people here, and are advocating your issues dear to the lives of seniors in the legislature. Do you do national issues also?
Only on occasion.
Okay. So I'm very pleased and honored to be asked to speak to you. This is the first time I've spoken before a group about these issues. We've worked on them, Nisi and I, because Nisi is the editor of the Voter's Guide and has worked very hard on it. I want to just make a little plug for the League of Women Voters. The League is a nonpartisan political organization. A couple of people here told me they were with the League or had been with the League. And we encourage informed and active participation in government. We work to increase understanding of the issues, and we influence public policy through education and advocacy. So we have an advocacy group, just like you do, which is 501c4, and then we have the 501c3, through which I am here speaking to you. So I won't be advocating. Our Voter's Guide is a very valuable and anticipated publication. And that publication is now online. We've all gone electronic, right? Because it's the age, and printing has become exorbitantly expensive. We don't have any sponsor for our printing. So you will find it at vote411.org. And I gave you a little card you can put in your wallet or your pocket. And that is where you can find all the candidates statewide nationwide, well, not nationwide, but the national candidates who we voted on, the congressional candidates, and any other statewide candidates, or county candidates, any county candidates. Some of you elect the Board of Education. We do not do that in Anne Arundel County where I live, but we do have like a confirmation election. Also, all of your county ballot issues will be there. And if you're in Anne Arundel County, you have,
California ballot.
pardon me?
This one looks like a California ballot.
Does it?
The
Well,
Anne Arundel County one. It's so heavy.
that's, that's only, yeah, right. It's, there, I was going to say, there are 15 ballot issues for our county. So that's why it's so heavy. We included our county ballot issues, but we won't discuss them today because people are from a very wide area in Maryland. So we'll just discuss the ones that we're all concerned with, the state issues. I'm going to pass around these cards in case you want to contact us for any reason. And I will say that we have absentee ballots over here, absentee ballot applications over here on the table, and we have voting registration if you want to change your registration or your party or whatever you want to do. So we are offering that service today. Now let's see. We are going to start then on constitutional. Can you read that? That looks fuzzy to me. Can we get it clearer? Well, let me just run through them.
It is in your guide.
We have a hard copy, so if you can't read that, we have a hard copy.
Right.
Here. All right, well, fortunately, Nisi prepared this hard copy for us. So we'll do it that way. And we'll still have this up here if anybody can see it. It'll be bigger on the next question, I think. Okay, so we have here 7 questions from the state. And 3 of them are constitutional amendments that required 3/5 vote of the legislature to get on the ballot. 4, 5, and 6 were petitioned by citizens to the ballot. They are laws that were already passed by the legislature and would have become law in November, let's say, or some of them in July. I'm not going to, commit on that date, but they have not become law because we had 3% of the gubernatorial voters petitioning to have that put on the ballot. And now with electronics, that's a pretty efficient way of getting signatures. The 7th question is a constitutional amendment. Actually, it's not a constitutional amendment because the one we passed, I didn't pass it, but the one that voters passed 2 years ago for gambling included the provision that any further gambling sites would be approved by the voters. So they had to come back to us for that one. So let's go first to question 3. Oh, okay, well, we will do question 1 and 2, yeah. We won't spend time on question 1 and 2 particularly. All right, question 1 and 2. People say, well, why are we voting on a PG orphans court or a Baltimore County orphans court? But that's the way our county, our state constitution is set up. The state, is still sovereign and gives the counties their powers. So that's the issue. We all have to vote on it. If you actually voted these down, they would not become law. But you have to vote, for a majority of the voters have to approve it. And then a majority of the voters in that county that it pertains to have to approve it. So if you're in PG County, you have to vote for it if you approve, if you want it. And you're expecting everyone else in the state to vote on it. That's the same thing for Baltimore County. Now, what's the question? The question is, orphans court is a very quaint term. Those of us who are new to Maryland, I've only been here 10 years, say, what does that mean? But it's the old-fashioned, many states call it the probate court, and that's what they do. And they've stuck with that quaint name. But there's no law saying that a probate, or excuse me, an orphans court judge has to be an attorney, a member of the Maryland bar. And there's a feeling, there's a sentiment, obviously, that does not result in the best kind of a situation, that they should have this legal knowledge of being a member of the bar. So that's the issue in both counties. And if you agree with that, please may vote yes. Some people skip it, saying, well, I don't value skipping it, but there are some people who say, well, I'm not going to express myself one way or the other. It's not a majority of, it's a majority of only of the votes cast, of course, that would determine how that works out. Now, the third one is for suspension and removal of elected officials. We had a situation in Anne Arundel County where the county council wanted to remove a member. And the question came up in their case of whether they actually had a charter amendment to do so. A charter provision to do so. They did not have a charter provision to do so, but they relied on state law. Now, this question is simply a question of when do they leave? Can they hang on to their official, can they hang on with pay and benefits and so forth until they are finally convicted after many appeals? If there's three situations here. Supposing that someone has done something fraudulent. They are charged, they are tried. They plead, obviously, they're going to be tried. They have pled not guilty. Okay, that's one situation. The other situation is they can plead guilty or nolo contendere. They're not going to contest it. In that case, these new rules, this new amendment, this new charter provision, excuse me, I've got to get my nomenclature correct here for the state. The new constitutional provision will be that those people will be immediately suspended. We're not going to wait for any more further sentencing, falderall, or any more of anything. They're going to be immediately removed finally. That's going to be a final removal for them. Now, if you plead guilty, you at least wait until you're convicted. But as soon as you're convicted, you want to appeal your sentence, you want to appeal the conviction, you have to be suspended immediately. And so it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of having them leave. It's for the better effectiveness of representation that they don't let these people hang in. Yes?
Even how far down this goes, for example, would this apply to elected members of the Board of Education?
Well, it can be applied to that, I believe, because the precedent is that the Attorney General and the County Attorney of Anne Arundel County said state law is going to apply here in this situation. It was actually a felony. And we didn't have a provision for removing county council. So they looked to the state constitution, and I think they put on timing too, but I can't really give you a definitive answer. You might ask the Attorney General. Okay, there's no more questions on that. Let's go to the DREAM Act, as they call it. This is the Public Institutions of Higher Education tuition rates. And there's a lot of lobbying on this question. This establishes that individuals, including undocumented immigrants, are eligible to pay in-state tuition at community colleges, provided they meet certain requirements. And perhaps you know some of them, you've heard of these. Filling of income taxes by their parents or by themselves for the last 3 years and continue to do it while they're in school. Filing, can't read. Registration with selective service is required. They are eligible to pay in-state tuition rates at a four-year public college if they've already completed their 60 credits at a community college. So the first step is the community college. And one thing that's rather important is that these students will not be counted as in-state students when they're talking in numbers. I mean, if you only can take 600 students, the in-state students, of course, the regular in-state students who are not covered under this bill, they would be the ones who get the preference. And the people who are coming under this act would only be, they would only be considered with the pool of out-of-state students. So that means they're competing with out-of-state students, not with in-state students. And that's kind of a sticking point for some people. That's something really to understand. Do you have any questions here? We have all the requirements that you might want to take a look at. They have to have graduated from high school. They must agree to apply for permanent residency within 30 days of becoming eligible. So, have you heard arguments pro and con on this? I think it might be interesting if people want to express any pro and con arguments. Anybody? Yes.
Well, the pro argument that I've heard is that essentially college-educated folks, or even if they don't graduate, will be eventually paying more in taxes to the state than the cost of this education over, I assume it assumes that they'll stay in the state for some extended period of time.
Right.
And that it ultimately would be it's not a drain on the state's revenue, but long term, it actually would enhance the revenue by providing better educated and better paid workforce.
What's your name?
My name's Frank Stella.
Okay. And you?
Another viewpoint stated by our
Say your name if you don't mind, unless you really want to be incognito.
but our state senator said, having invested in these students through high school, I throw that away, build on it.
Any other opinions? Okay. Well, we have an interesting viewpoint, and the league is not going to express their viewpoint at this meeting. Because we are being very careful to stay within our education arm, okay? 501c3. Question 5. Are we there yet? Okay. Question 5 is congressional districting plan. I don't know how many of you got a chance to look at those districts for Anne Arundel County. Well, actually, those, the district, let's take District 3. That is the most interesting district. It starts way up above Baltimore in Baltimore County, comes around, skirts Baltimore City, and goes across Baltimore, around Anne Arundel County. It goes over to Howard County. It goes down to PG County. It comes back up into Anne Arundel. And so it's kind of hard to figure out where you live. And by the way, I mean where you vote. You know where you live, but it's hard to figure out where you vote. And that is going to be something you can look up on your voter's guide. vote411.org, which is voteinformation.org, sends you right to, immediately, to where your polling place is and who your congressman is. Not his name, but what district you're in. So, that would be very helpful for everybody. And just a few buttons, I mean, maybe you have to put in a few buttons, you have to put in your address, you know, there's a little bit of input that you have to do, but it's very helpful. Okay, is there any questions about the redistricting? Oh, well, let me tell you more about the redistricting. Yeah. I can't just leave it that quickly, although we do need to move on, but the districting process is one that's very partisan, because the governor appoints the board and they do the redistricting. And since our legislature is one party, that goes through pretty easily. We have to redraw the boundaries every 10 years according to the U.S. Constitution. So it has to be done. If you vote yes, you approve of the vote, of this law. Yes votes on all of these petition items mean you approve of the law as the legislature passed it. So a yes vote on this means that you approve of this plan. A no vote means that they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. So they have the same process. The same process of having the governor appoint his commission and so forth. So it continues to be a partisan effort. And there's no guarantee, as you can imagine, that that's going to make anything a whole lot better. Yes, Mary? Or no, what's your name?
Virginia.
Virginia.
I, as a resident of Anne Arundel County, I'm going to vote no, because just to smack their hand if nothing else, I realize that the chances of much change isn't there, but we're represented and have been for decades by 4 different congressmen. We're not a majority for any of them, and none of them care. It's just not significant. And with this Jackson Pollock method of determining congressional districts, it's going to be difficult for the citizens as well as the representatives to know whether they care. It's a mess. It's gerrymandering at its worst. When I taught government, I used to have to go to other states to get good gerrymandering maps, but not the last few decades. Maryland's provided excellent examples.
Any other comments?
We
Yes.
have a position on that.
I may be a little cynical here. I think the maps are terrible. I think they've always been terrible for the last 200 years, and they're probably terrible at other things too. I think if we go yes, we get terrible maps. If we vote no, we get terrible maps.
Is there a way to have a national position on this? Because this, this isn't, it's a Democratic partisan issue in Maryland, but the Republicans do the same thing. So the question becomes, if you go the route of an independent commission, how do you have a truly independent commission drawn?
Well, you're right. The league does have a position on this, and their position has been somewhat controversial within the league itself, because the state position is we're going to get the same thing if you vote yes or no. Whether if you vote no, it's going to be pretty much the same process. It's going to be the same process and maybe not too different a result. So the league has a position that there should be an independent commission. I can't tell you all the details, but you can go to lwdmd.org and look up positions, and it's spelled out there. They want an independent commission, and they're working with a legislator. Then Delegate Braveboy is going to introduce legislation in the next session that will establish an independent commission and change this process.
if you have a national, I mean, let's take another example. Let's say, what's your position in Texas? The same thing.
I don't know what the national position is, but if you want to find out, it's lwv.org. It's really easy, legalwomenvoters.org, and you can find out there. A lot of good information there.
Iowa has a commission.
Oh, they do? Okay. Did you all hear that? Iowa has a commission? Right. Thanks. Okay. We'll go to 6. I'll try to find 6 in my little packet up here.
Page 7.
All right. Okay. Same-sex marriage. This is called the Civil Marriage Protection Act. And of course, it allows gay and lesbian couples to obtain a civil marriage license. It doesn't mean that your pastor has to marry them. It means that they can be married civilly. And as a matter of fact, it protects the clergy, it says, from having to perform any particular marriage ceremony in violation of their religious beliefs. And it also says that religious organizations don't have to provide any services or anything to these couples. That is a lot of protections in it. However, there are people that feel strongly about it. As you can imagine, there are pros and cons. Anybody want to venture a pro and con? I will read these pros and cons then, more or less, I'll summarize. Okay, support means equal rights for all Marylanders without discrimination. Marriage benefits would be available to all couples, like joint ownership, medical decisions, and so forth. There are 300 Maryland laws that give special consideration or special mention of married couples. And I have heard people say, legislators say, that they can't change 300 laws, but they can have a constitutional amendment that will allow the same privileges. So that's the Civil Marriage Protection Act. I think there are a lot of people here that work for government, aren't there? How many people here work for government? I don't know if you feel somewhat inhibited in expressing your opinions because you work for government, but I suspect so. Hi.
Just one little comment about this. For those who think that marriage laws are the same everywhere, looking into this, discovered in almost all parts of the United States, first cousins to marry. In Maryland, it's legal for first cousins to marry. Or at least if they're a different gender as a man.
Yes.
References in here that a judge in 2010 said that if you were married in another state, that you would, I think it says that you would consider married here. What if this goes down? Do you know what happens with that? This gets voted down.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're asking me for an opinion that I can't tell you. I'm not.
No. I'm asking.
Yeah, because
legally what would happen.
Well, I know legally I'd say ask the Attorney General, but I would suggest that it would not change that provision. Yeah.
Basically, that statement's based on an opinion of the Attorney General right now. I doubt that would change the
Right.
Attorney General's opinion.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So. Yes.
There also is a Court of Appeal decision, highest court of Maryland, that same-sex couples married in another state to get divorced in Maryland. So in order to get divorced, you have to be recognized to be married.
Right. So that's very helpful.
Question.
Yes.
About federally, either completely controlled like Social Security or Medicaid. How would that affect the ability to get certain kinds of aid, financial aid or.
Well, I think that they would have to be up to the federal government, right? That would be a federal law. That's very interesting that you bring that up. I think that would be up to the federal government to decide. And I don't really know if that would require any kind of legislation or what.
Like I see with seniors with Medicaid.
Yes.
That would be.
That federal protections would not be recognized. So any federal protections that are in existence already for married couples are not recognized. They wouldn't be here in Maryland, and they're not in any of the other 7 states in the district that have same-sex marriage.
So, like many laws, marriage laws are up to the states. And this is considered a marriage law. So, that would be your answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
However, having been in a wedding recently, if receptions were carried out, this would be a great economic boom.
The same argument as the gambling. We don't want them to go to other states, right?
All right, which brings us to question 7, which is called Gaming Expansion Referendum. And we thought we put this to rest when we had that huge slots campaign 2 years ago, and even put it into the Constitution, which many people thought was really going a long way. But others thought it gave a protection so that we wouldn't have it brought up again, because it's in the Constitution. But when we voted, however we voted, if you voted for it, it included a provision that's in the Constitution that any further gambling has to be approved by the voters, and that's how this got onto the ballot. It was not petitioned on, and it was not from a state referred referendum. It's the law that you have to decide. Now, of course, everybody knows that what they're talking about is National Harbor. They don't even talk about Laurel anymore. And they don't even talk about helping the horse industry anymore.
Don't pretend.
So they talk about well, let's talk about the changes. What's going to change? Well, obviously, they're going to have another site, but the actual decision about where the license is left up to the commission. However, and the local zoning regulations have to be enforced. They have to be approved by the county council. And there was in our county, there was quite a lot of falderall about whether they could have the zoning for Maryland Live and how it would affect the community. And boy, we had, a full county council chamber for that. But they finally approved it with a few little tweaks and allowed it. Now, what are the pros? Well, not only what are the pros, but I think I want to talk about some of the changes, because sorry, I've gone through this before, but I want to talk about some of the changes. They're going to do a lot of concessions to the casino owners. And I remember back when there was all this testifying about the gambling, the casino owner from Ocean Down said, look, you're not giving us enough, and this is not practiced throughout the country. Well, now they are going to get more of the proceeds. They're going to pay less to the state. The exact figure is probably in here somewhere. But so they have reduced the amount that they have to pay to the state. They're trying to sweeten it up for the other 5 who don't like the competition. They are going to allow table games. And is there any other concession that they're going to make? Let's see.
The veterans organizations, American Legion.
But that actually does not have to be approved. That's already law. That, the veterans organizations piece.
Oh, okay, well-
This is not dependent on the vote.
All right,
That was just passed as part of the bill, but not pending the approval of the.
But there has been some change. And Nisi, who studied this situation, studied this provision, reminds me that the gaming hours were changed, so that now there's, what is it now?
24 hours.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right. Okay. Pros?
This 200 million to be generated from their own public schools, when all of these are fully operational, for instance, is that a guarantee?
Well, of course it isn't. That's an argument by the opponents, and as the opponents say, the spending for public schools since 2010 and since this gambling has gone into effect has not been increased.
My concern is it's written as a pro, but it's not a fact.
That's right, that's right.
Well,
It could have
that's
been
my
said,
concern.
it could have been said, we could put in the words, projected or is estimated or something like that.
And I think that most of it, at least after the first year, will go to the general fund.
Right.
Which just
Yes.
does not guarantee that any of it will go to education.
And I think it's important that the pro get restated. This is not a fact. It's people could assume that.
Yes,
I talked to several legislators yesterday who do not anticipate that there will be any increase in money going to the schools as a result of this bill.
and that's what we have in the con here, that they go into the general fund and then they just spend the same amount on education they were going to, but they've got more money in their general fund. Yes, and revenues have not gone up to the 565 million that was predicted. Yes.
It seems to me this con argument is nonsense because if the original bill, the current bill, indicates and the public is told, like in the pros here, that this money will go to the public schools, they need to enforce the existing law. Instead of going to the schools, it's been distributed God knows where. And that's in violation of the spirit and apparently the verbiage in the original law. So I don't understand why this is a con, because if the law were followed the way it's been explained to us, that the money would be going to the public schools. And it's not. That's not a con. It's meaning the pro is not being followed through on.
Bruce, you remember when the lottery was going to go to education?
Right,
Yeah,
that's what they sold it the first time.
That's how it was sold.
They're gonna
and
sell it
was
again
sold-
this time.
The gambling casinos were slots for
I know,
dogs.
they ought to tighten up
Okay,
what they
please.
said the original law
So
was to do.
is your question is, what's on the books, disregarding this one, disregarding this, what's on the book, does it or does it not guarantee money to education? It does not, correct? So
Can I have, you had a comment.
Same thing.
I enjoy gambling, I really do. I go to Las Vegas anytime I have a chance. I'm totally against this, because all this does basically is reduce the take for the state of Maryland by 1/3. We are giving away, we gave away everything the first time to get them here, and now we're giving 1/3 more away. I mean, that says it right here.
Okay, well, we've got some really interesting opinions.
And that's the reason to be
Yeah,
against it.
yeah.
I mean, it's,
Well,
you know, if they want to bring in 50 more gambling organizations, let them come in on their own. Don't expect the state to support them.
well, that's some very interesting viewpoints that we've heard. I don't know if the gambling people would like to hear all this, because it doesn't seem to be going their way here. But a vote for, pardon me.
It also changes for loans to machines, like
The state's paid for.
I wasn't aware that that was in the, is that,
Yes.
Casey, is that in the
Yeah.
amendment? It doesn't say that that is in the amendment, but we will take a closer look at the original bill. Because this in bold is exactly what you'll see on your ballot. You will see this question stated this way: establishes Maryland civil marriage laws and all the way down to religious beliefs. That's what will actually be on your ballot. All this other is what the League of Women Voters has put in to try to explain it. The other thing that you want to know is that you vote for any of these, and it means that those laws will stay in effect, or will become law. Those proposals will become law. They're already legislation that has passed. So when we put this together, we put it together for our county. Every county in the state has one of these. It's put together by the League of Women Voters. So look for it at lwvmd.org, or look for it at vote411.org. It's really easy. Vote411.org. It's a league site, and it takes you right to one of these voters' guides for your county after a few clicks, I suppose.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, an important thing is that this is the wording in your dark print for
Right.
example question 7.
Right.
Some of the issues that were raised, like who owns the machine,
Yeah.
is not going to be decided by this question. It's
Well,
part
it
of the law.
appears not. I haven't seen the bill.
The summary is done by, they don't print the whole, they don't print the whole amendment, they summarize it, and they don't always put all the information in the summary that goes on the ballot.
Can you
Yeah,
hear
there's a
me?
big battle that goes on as to what the wording is.
But this is the final wording.
That is the final
That's the
wording.
final
Of the
wording.
ballot
It's a
question,
valid question,
but
that
not of
doesn't-
the,
That doesn't say what's in the law.
yeah, but not of the actual constitutional provision that you're voting on. So if you want to look for it, I think we have, I don't know if we have a link for it, but I think we say, chapter, this is how you look it up. You look up your state site, and the legislative site, and instead of looking for a bill, you look for chapter CH.147, for instance, for question 3. Chapter 147 of the 2012 legislative session. So if you want to see all the details that were in what was passed by the legislature, that's what you do. Now, are there any other questions? Comments? Yes.
On question 5, it says the vote against means the General Assembly will have to pass another bill defining congressional districts in time for the 2014 primary election.
Right.
If they voted, if it doesn't pass, in other words, if the legislature does it again, they have to pass a new law, which could be subject to referendum again. Is that not correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be. Any other questions about the guide itself or about voting? We're having a congressional forum for districts 3 and 4 in September Park on October 15th at the Woods Memorial Presbyterian Church. And it's from 7 to 9 in the evening. That's on Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard. Here you have a flyer for that. You don't have to be in Anne Arundel County if you want to hear what District 3 and District 4 candidates have to say, because their districts go all over. The one thing they don't do is go across the bay anymore. September Park used to be in District 1. And now we've got District 1 all over on Eastern Shore. No, they don't?
No.
Excuse me, I misstated.
Goes up in Baltimore County.
Oh, okay. Goes up in Baltimore County and Cecil County, but Anne Arundel County doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Instead, we have some district that goes down, Howard, so forth. We have quite a variety of districts, I'll tell you. It makes our job very hard as legal women voters to make out this voter's guide and get everybody in. So that's why we had to choose just two. We chose District 3 and District 4 because the most population, I would say, of Anne Arundel County is in those two districts. We did not take District 5, although there's a large area of Anne Arundel County, District 5 and South River down, but it does not have as many people in it. So,
Another county is doing that.
yeah, and Calvert County is going to have something on that. So if you want to see, on the October 18th, Calvert County will have a congressional candidates forum also. All right, yeah. I think I'm going to wind it up with that one question, the last question.
Okay, well, this may be a doozy. If the suggestion is that we vote question 5 down, and as brought up,
I'm not making the suggestion.
no, no, we are.
Okay.
If that be the case, then we're anticipating that there would be a referendum for the next, basically, new legislation for redistrict, an unbiased committee be formed. The legislation for that, is there a USM position on that?
Well, the unbiased, excuse me, but I want to make clear that the unbiased commission is not law yet.
I know.
Yeah.
The idea is that the first thing has to be done is that we have to vote this bill down, this question.
They're separate issues. They're
Well,
separate issues.
yeah, I know what you
Yeah, I
mean.
know.
I know what you mean to say. You're wondering whether you want to support Delegate Brave Boy's legislation. And then she's going to have a lot of other people on both sides of the political fence on that legislation. So if you're interested in that, you know, that's something you want to check out. I don't think it's been dropped yet, so it wouldn't be on their schedule yet, but soon you'll be able to check that out on the web. Okay, well, I want to thank you very much. I want to invite you to join the league. I want to invite you to go to vote411.org. And I want to invite you, if you want to get an application for an absentee balloting or anything of that sort, that you can pick them up. You can pick up voter registration forms for your friends and relatives back on that table. I want to do a by the way. By the way, we're going to be at the Annapolis Westfield Mall tomorrow from noon to 8 to register people. So if you're in that vicinity, you can stop in and say hello, send something. Thanks.
You register statewide or in your county?
Oh, no, we can register any county at all. It's a state registration form.
Regardless, we will have application forms for that.
Just to clarify, my
You're not thinking of like,
multiple wishes to the voters. People seem to want USM to look at in terms of taking a position. And we kind of got blended together. You were talking about redistricting. You were talking about gaming. And so we'll ask the legislative committee to take a look at that. Okay? Now, the interesting part will be the election of the new president. So I would ask, are there nominations for president?
This is carefully rehearsed.
Yes.
I nominate Elizabeth Wayne to be president.
Second. Any other nomination? Not any other nomination. Request for the secretary.
My name is Elizabeth Wagline, I'm with the Fair Network, and thank you very much for the nomination. I've been working with Ted and also Wendy and trying to get a handle on all the different issues. I myself have been active in not only the political arena, but also our industry, with home and community-based services, serving and working with seniors many decades. I'm a baby boomer. It's something that I look forward to working with Ted and the entire board and the entire membership of the United Seniors of Maryland. You all have come a long way, and I look forward to working with each of you for future priorities and activities, the forum, and there's so many other possibilities that are on our horizon. You are in the forefront of trends, political agendas, and where the state should be and will be. So I look forward to hopefully working with you. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them. If there's any concerns or questions.
I'd just like to make a point, having worked, when I had a career in state government for many years, and there were several trade representatives and organizations with whom I worked. Elizabeth was very prominent in a very positive way. Sometimes those relationships, you get the feeling that they're working for their own selves or their own, and they're not working with their peers. And then as government, there's this fractious relationship that develops that, they're kind of just sort of working for marketing share. Elizabeth was always very reasonable to deal with. We often had to make agreements and compromises. And I knew that we could have a logical discussion and come to those compromises with her. So I do have some personal experience that was very positive working with her and wanted to relay that to you.
We've had the pleasure of knowing each other for a long time. So it's nice to be able to have Wendy as the vice president. I was actually quite delighted that she was already there. It's a nice working relationship.
I just question your mental stability. So, without any other nomination, I would request the secretary to record unanimous vote for Elizabeth Wagner to be president of the United Seniors of Maryland. So,
Thank you very much.
Everybody will know, and then you can adjourn the meeting.
But I did say to Ted, when he started talking to me about this position, that he's not going far, and truly, I hope that he'll be my you have a lot, you've done a lot, and I really appreciate everything that happened. So I look forward to working with you this past summer, as well as creating a transition with our board and for you to get to know me as well. I do want to flag Michael. I just spoke ahead of time, but if we have an opportunity to speak to our own region, I'd like to do it. Ted, you actually have to come with us. As we make transitions, there's always positive things that happen, and I'm going to turn it to Michael Chance.
Ted, Secretary Lawler was here, many of you remember the last meeting, and this was to have been presented to Ted at that time, and unfortunately it wasn't here. On behalf of Secretary Lawler and the Department of Aging, and I mean many members of the staff of the Department of Aging with whom Ted has been working, for his dedication and tireless efforts on behalf of older Marylanders, his transformational leadership of United Seniors. I'm sort of editing here. Strengthening the coalition, revamping the annual rally into the town hall format. I will add sort of that Ted has also been in the leadership role on another entity, and that's the Council on Quality of Care at End of Life. And Ted is in large part responsible for most moving and being elected. So Ted, thank you so much for your years of leadership, tireless efforts, and we hope to continue to have your help in time to come.
don't know what to say. I'm much better at giving these things than getting.
Speechless, that's changed, that's new.
Thank you, thank you very much. Now you can adjourn the meeting. It's been 4 years, a few months, and it's been a lot of work, a lot of fun. I've met a lot of people, and I've enjoyed meeting everyone. This is a little Rogers who said, I never met a man who made me like. I never met a person in the United States, but I really didn't. Son-in-law, but really, everybody here is here because we want to do good. And that's an interesting concept. I don't think there's anybody in this room who's here to further their own agenda. They're here to further the agenda for other people. I keep telling the story of testifying, saying you come down here every year and say the same thing. You keep asking for funding, you keep asking to make sure that the departments that deal with seniors get what they need to do what they need to do. And I said, why do you come down here every year and just say the same thing? He said, I finally figured it out. You look at me, here's a guy who's reasonably well dressed, reasonably articulate, good looking, got a laugh in too, and rightfully so. And I said, you think, looking at me, you're a senior. What do you need? And the answer is, you're missing the point. It's not us. It's not we people in this room that we're advocating for and trying to protect. In almost every instance, there are some exceptions, like Medicare. There are some exceptions. But in general, we're here doing the work for people who can't do the work for themselves. And so, this award, which I'm so flattered to get, is really significant. It really belongs to you. I'll hold it. I'll mount it on my wall.
Can we come to this one?
But it's really your award. And I thank you. With that, if you didn't want to do it, I'll take the last official act and say, we're adjourned.
I will, the electioneering.
I very much appreciate it. So got a great photo of Kathleen. If you know just when you no rush, send me a copy of it. These went out, put it in the statement. No rush, but if you think about it, we'll put it in our statement.
Welcome.